Ladies and gentlemen, very warm welcome, and always really enjoy that part because there's always a great energy when we see each other, and I never hurry it because it's just great to see everyone buzzing to be together. And here we are with a great show today, fair bit to get through. I'll start with our usual gratitude to our sponsors, and I'll just read them out strangely from this angle, but IMARC, APM, Australian AMEC, CRE Insurance, Fender Geophysics, Inversia, Ioneer, they're our silver sponsors. Our platinum heroes are these two fellas, the AME Group and BDA, and always there for us and really make a big difference to our club and the way we run it. Taurus Funds, Tees, the big engineering firm, Veritas, the great broking firm, Broken Hill Mines, New South Wales Mining, and Kingsgate Consolidated, the gold miner in Thailand. So we, as I always point out, we don't, we really, without these, they make the club run. That's why you don't pay membership fees, because these people all want to support you, support your gatherings. And anytime you run into anyone from any one of these organisations, say thank you to them in person, and better still bring them your business, because that's what we're here for, to make the world go round. Welcome to Bryan, Quinn and Craig Bradshaw. We've got a nice pair of stories here today. I just got a little, I mentioned IMARC at the beginning. We do have a little giveaway. Now, when we had the 150th birthday of Eureka, they minted a special coin, and we said, somewhere under the, I announced it under the plate. If you're a lucky person, you were going to get a coin. So everyone turned their plate over, and everyone got a coin. Today's different though, because there's only one prize, and it is under a seat. It could be if you're sitting next to an empty seat, you get double chance here. But don't fight. No fighting over the empty seats. But if you would all care to have a look under your seats, then we can find out who the lucky winner is. It is a free pass for the entire IMARC. A free pass. This is worth big money. It's like, I don't know, a couple of grand or something. So have we got a winner over there? Very good. Lucky man. And there was somebody sitting in that seat, so there was no dispute. There's not a disputed outcome on that, so excellent. Moving right on, people have been asking me as to the whereabouts of our patron, Trevor Sykes, who's fallen out of contact. We have located him, and his beautiful wife, Daya, are living in a, I don't know what the correct word is, a hospice or a place where really old people go to hang out and live together. And down in Rushcutters Bay, we've located them. We're writing Trevor a letter because he's not in electronic communication. So we still love Trevor, and he's still our patron, and we really appreciate all that he's ever done for our industry. Another person that we also appreciate is David Hazelhurst, who I'm sad to report passed away recently, and he's you might remember him from the Bulletin. He was often called the Speculator, and he was like Trevor. It was a great. We don't seem to have reporters in our industry anymore. People who actually knock on your door and go to your site, and that's what they used to do. Get into the data and really go. I used to be one for a while. Anyway, though, bit of news about David. I'd also like this is on the more positive front, a new CEO at Osmine Australia, and that is Tony Davis. Tony, would you like to present yourself? There you go. He's had an entire 1.5 days of experience in the role now, so you should ask him questions. Previously he was Austrade's leader across the Americas, and has 30 years of experience in our sector. So lots of things you can learn from Tony. He's right there. Go and grab him. Hasn't got any business cards yet, so take a pen with you. Are we lined up to do this clip? Have we got a clip, Mr. AV guy? Have we got a clip? Okay. We met a guy called Rupert Degas, D-E-G-A-S, and he does these. He lives down in Ballroom, and Charlie's nodding. That's a funny connection that you're nodding, Charlie, because he does some very, very good work. Look him up, Rupert. We actually wanted to show you the clip, but not to be today. We'll do it another time. But he does absolutely superb. Donald Trump, Albo, used to do Susan Ley until he got a bit better, Lee, or how you pronounce it. And he, I don't think he's done an Angus Taylor yet, but it's going to happen. But he's a very, very funny man, and I drove all the way down to Bowral to meet him, and actually bought him lunch at your expense, the members. So just so that you know, declaring. But anyway, I was going to show you the clip because he does a very good one of Donald Trump talking about how Australia should be a resource powerhouse. And he can't believe that doing his Trump, he said, Australia, what? I asked my people, they said, what? So they have uranium, but they don't use it? It's like having a bakery and not eating your own bread. So there are many elements of insanity around the resources sector in Australia. And it pleases me a lot to see this morning that Angus Taylor has a new mission, a new line, and he is saying that we're going to drill and we're going to dig and we're going to pay back the debt bill, which is a little jingle, but it's bloody good to hear a political party in Australia come out bare-chested and support our industry. About time. I was kind of wondering where it was all going to go, but it was a really fresh move. And as it happens, we have a Charlie Taylor in the audience with us here, and Charlie is brother of Angus and has been the National Treasurer of the Liberal Party. And so, Charlie, please take it from all of this room that that's a bloody good idea, and anything we can do to, and any party who matches it, but, you've thrown down the gauntlet for pro-mining, great to see. And that must pretty much, the really important thing on your tables, you'll find this little card, which you should pick up and put in your pocket, because we are launching the new Leading Edge event next month. Today's the first Thursday. We've always had first Thursdays, right? Leading Edges are going to be on a first Wednesday, and they're not here. We've got a new venue downtown. It's called Hinchcliffe House, and it's really nice, right behind Customs House. And they're going to be lunchtime showcases. So what happened was the Thursday evening turned into the Friday because of COVID, and we were running out, So we've now got a lunchtime event. It'll be midday. There'll be we'll be pumping through 4 really great up-and-coming leading edge companies. So take that card, because that's got the lunches and it's got the leading edge series as well. Go right out on this. Get your friends along. We'll have a cracker of a first leading edge series, and there'll be something in there because, 4 companies, different commodities, there'll be something for everybody's interest. So done a lot of work to get that going. We had to cut our contract with Good House of Merivale. So we have moved that series off to Hinchcliffe House. So that was a very exciting move. Took a lot of work. And the good news is that I'm now out of your road. We haven't tossed a coin yet, but it says here Aurelia first. Anyone got a preference? Aurelia first or EQ? Doesn't matter. Toss a coin. All right. Okay. Well, I'll just make it. EQ first. All right, we've had a call from the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Craig Bradshaw to tell us about the ballistic rise of EQ Resources. Good. There you go, mate. Leave you in charge.
Appreciate it. So, obviously, Craig Bradshaw, EQ Resources. Pleased to be here today to talk about our business, our project, and what's happening in the world of tungsten. So, EQ Resources, I joined as a non-executive director 1st of April, 12 months ago. Took on the role of managing director 1st of October. And we've seen a lot of change in the marketplace as well as in our company over the last 5-6 months. And certainly appreciate the support by a lot of people in the room who've been part of that journey to get us to where we are today. And today I'll talk about the market, the assets, and where we're going. Disclaimer. So corporate overview. Current market cap sits variously around 1.5 to 1.7 million. Shareholders, we have two major billion. 6 months ago we were 80 million, and we're now I've got to convert from million to billion. Major shareholders, Oaktree sits on the register around 17%, Chronometer around 5%, and the rest of it is anywhere between smalls to 2%. Our production is all about tungsten in the form of concentrate. We have two assets. We have the mine in North Queensland, Mount Carbine. We have the mine in Spain, Salamanca, which is just on the Portugal border in the north. Difference between the two, the asset in Australia is a wolframite. It's an iron-based tungsten, FeWO4. The asset in Spain is a scheelite. It's calcium-based. It's a CaWO4, but it's a 50% tungsten concentrate that comes out of the two assets. Why tungsten? Why now? This slide goes a long way to explaining. So back in 2024, the US government put out a piece of legislation called DFARS. DFARS was all about strategic and ensuring that, in particular, US military was protected strategically in terms of sourcing tungsten material for its military applications. That had also wider implications for industry in terms of not just tungsten going into military applications, but anything that goes into the manufacture of anything for military also made a significant difference. In terms of China's response to that, China responded in February 2025 with a piece of legislation that banned the export of tungsten from China from anything that was dual use. So essentially what that meant is tungsten intermediaries can't be exported from China if they could be used in any military application around the world. And so from that point in time, basically the global supply chain has bifurcated. So within that legislation, any tungsten from a country of concern, which includes China, Russia, Myanmar, North Korea, Kazakhstan now, because the assets that are producing in Kazakhstan are 100% owned by Chinese state-owned enterprises, are now not able to supply tungsten into the rest of the world. From a tungsten perspective, tungsten as a use case, you've got a total global demand of 150,000 tonnes. So it is niche in terms of the volumes that go into it, but it goes into just about everything. So when you look at the applications, 25% goes into mining, construction, drilling, 25% goes into transport from high-speed manufacturing. So when you're looking at ICE engines, every ICE engine vehicle consumes tungsten. EVs also consume tungsten, although it consumes less tungsten than goes into an ICE. Key difference is you're looking at an ICE has 2,000 moving parts, a EV has 200 moving parts. When you go to a hybrid is a combination of the two. It has more moving parts than both, so every hybrid consumes more tungsten than either of the other two, right? So in terms of where we end up globally in terms of vehicles and vehicle choice will make a difference in terms of tungsten. But you also have a number of applications that are significantly increasing the volume of tungsten consumed. Things like memory chips. So they're etching to do memory chips for the processors in computers, in AI large language modules. So the memory chips for AI large language modules, the density or the use of tungsten is 4 to 6 times more than what's used in normal processors. And the material that's used to do the layering and the etching is tungsten hexafluoride, WF6. So the use in computer chip manufacture and AI processors has significantly increased. The use in production of solar panels. So solar panels, you're looking at a silicon block cut up into thin silicon wafers. That historically was used diamond impregnated wire. Today we use tungsten wire to do that because you get greater yield of silicon blocks into silicon panels by using tungsten wire because it produces less swarf and you have a thinner panel, for example, right? And so there's a number of applications where consumption use is going up, but simplistically, tungsten has run at around consumption growth of 2.5%, 3.5%. Where tungsten gets really interesting is on the supply side. So global consumption, global demand, 150,000 tonnes, 50% consumed in China, 50% consumed in the rest of the world. For the last 30 years, 85% of the supply of tungsten has come from China. And that's where the issue that we've got in the rest of the world is the bifurcation from a supply chain. China removing supply of intermediaries from the rest of the world has meant that the rest of the world is short. Simplistically, the numbers, the way they work, 150,000 tonnes demand, 75,000 tonnes in the rest of the world. 40% of that will be supplied by recycle. That takes 35,000 tonnes off the market. That means you've got a demand of 40,000 tonnes. Supply is currently sitting around 10 to 13,000 tonnes, including Bolivia and Africa. The Chinese are actively buying and outbidding Western consumers in Africa and in Bolivia, such that most of the volume coming out of those two locations is also going into China. So the rest of the world's supply is sitting around 9 to 10,000 tonnes against the demand of 30,000 tonnes from a primary perspective. That global deficit will continue for possibly 5-10 years based on the time it takes to bring new mining into production. Right? Historically, new mines would have been 10 to 15 years. If governments get on board with fast-tracking developments, you're still probably looking around 6 to 10. Our view is that the current pricing we're seeing, our prices in February 2025 were sitting around $300 to $350 per MTU, MTU being 10 kilos of tungsten. It had been at that level for about 4 years. 2020 to 2024, it sat between $300 and $350. The reason for that was the Chinese marginal cost of production was $270 to $290. So the Chinese kept it at that level because they controlled supply into the market. With it being withdrawn, late last week, last Friday, price hit $3,000 an MTU. The spread between the high and the low is now more than what the price was for the product for 4 years continuously, right? And that speaks to where we're at the moment in terms of, if you like, the desperation or the need for tungsten in the rest of the world. It's got to the point where companies in Korea, companies in the US are sticking 20 tonnes of tungsten on a plane or 20 tonnes of scrap on a plane and flying it halfway around the world to meet their offtake requirements in the current market. Just tungsten is not available, and the near-term supply-side responses, you're looking at EQR. We've got the ability to expand our assets. You're looking at Almonte, which is just finishing construction and starting commissioning. They've got a capacity on their phase 1 out of South Korea of 2,000 tonnes. That will take them a couple of years to ramp up to, but that's the extent of the supply-side response at the moment. Our assets. So we have 2 assets in operation, in production today. The Mount Carbine asset in North Queensland, an hour outside of Port Douglas, and the Barracapato operation in Salamanca, Spain. The operation in Australia has got an 8-year mine life ahead of it. That 8 years is based on a previous JORC reserve that was based on a price of $330 per MTU. We will be doing an update on our reserve and resource within this calendar year, and to that extent we're in the process of commencing drilling at Carbine to convert additional resources to reserves. Currently, only 23% of the resource has been converted to reserve, and there's a lot of gaps in our geological model due to lack of drilling. And that goes back to the fact that EQR, for a long period of time, has been cash-strapped. It's had insufficient capital to spend the money it needs to actually develop the asset. Equally over in Spain, we've got an asset that we did issue a new resource in 2025. That new resource was based on a price of $450 per MTU. Current price is $3,000, but $450. That gives us a 9-year mine life, and 45% of the resource has been converted to reserve there. So both assets, 8 and 9 years, but equally with significant resources and opportunities to expand. Mount Carbine operations, you can see here, in terms of the red is the resource, the blue is the current reserve, and that's the opportunity that sits in front of us. Equally, the operation there, it is a wolframite concentrate. We have TOMRA sorters. TOMRA sorters work very well for tungsten mineralisation when it is a single mineral operation. Those sorters, we have 2 of them currently in operation at Carbine. We have 3 of them in Spain. We achieve a 90% rejection rate to waste, 10% to ore, for a 98% recovery of mineralisation. They are fundamental to making the process work really well because they reduce the amount of mass that you have to send to your gravity circuit, increases your residence time, you get better segregation and separation as a result. Our asset in Australia runs at recoveries on a bad day of 75%. On a good day, we'll hit 90%. Most of the rest of the world runs their tungsten operations on a good day at around 60, 65%. So even on a bad day, we're better than the rest of the world at that operation. So equally, the plan at Carbine is we will undertake additional drilling this year. That drilling is commencing as we speak. We've come to the end of the wet season, thankfully. We've got plenty of water on site from a processing perspective, but as we get less rain, we'll undertake the drilling at that operation. And we expect that to result in increases in both resources and reserves. The other opportunity for us near mine site in terms of Carbine is 60 kilometres to north through the Queensland Government abandoned mines process. EQR was successful in bidding on the Wolfram Camp EPM. That Wolfram Camp EPM was an operation up until 2019. So the last time, it was producing tungsten concentrate, molybdenum concentrate and bismuth concentrate through the plant there. It's got a historic foreign reserves, 43101 resource of 2.9 million tonnes at 0.28. We're currently feeding our processing plant up at Carbine, 50% of the feed coming from the pit and 50% of it coming from a low-grade stockpile of 13 million tonnes at 0.07, 0.08. And so the plan will be to do additional drilling at Wolfram Camp, look to fast-track the operation there in terms of the Parrot pit and the old Wolfram Camp pit to an ML, and then crush, sort, jig that material and bring that through to the Carbine operation and substitute that low-grade stockpile feed for high-grade feed coming out of Wolfram Camp. Within that context, from a Wolfram Camp perspective, the last time that processing plant at Wolfram Camp operated was 2019. 2019, the tungsten price was sitting at $250 an MTU. And so the 43101 reserve that is resource on that asset is at a significantly lower price than we're currently seeing in the market or what we expect to be the long-term run rate. And so we see significant opportunity there. We've also got another 4 high-priority targets that have had no work. They're previously workings there, largely artisanal or semi-mechanised operations, but no modern exploration done on those in about 40 years. Our Barracapato operation, so this is an overview of the pit. You can see the holes that we're intending to drill. North is to the left of me. When we're standing in the pit, what we see is we see the veins. So both the mineralisation in both are quartz-hosted veins. All the tungsten is in quartz veins. Not all quartz veins hold tungsten. As you get closer to surface, it feathers. As you get deeper, you get wider veins, you get more tungsten per vertical metre, right? And so within it, when we're standing in the pit at the moment, to the north, we can see the veins continuing in the wall. In the south, we can see the veins continuing in the wall. The reason it's not in the geological model is there's no drilling at either end of the pit beyond that. And so we'll undertake drilling to expand the resource or test the concept that the resource extends. We'll also be undertaking drilling to the east. There is resource into the east. It has insufficient drill spacings to convert to a reserve. And so the ore body is open to the north, open to the south, open to the east, and open at depth. And so that's the work we'll be undertaking across this year. is to convert more resources to reserves, but also then to expand the resources we've got at our operation there. Fundamentally, what does all that do for us? So at the moment, we produced, up until June 2025, we produced 1,680 tonnes of WO3. In the Western world, that would put us at number one in 2025. Almonte produced 688 tonnes at its operation in Portugal, with an intent to produce 2,000 tonnes out of its operation in South Korea. Masan High-Tech Materials reported that they produced 1,300 tonnes of tungsten for calendar year 2025. So at 1,680, as inefficiently as we were running at that point in time, we were still the number one producer in the world. And as a company, we had other challenges we needed to solve, from liquidity, solvency, governance issues. With the appointment yesterday of Mike Nossel as the new chair, who's joined us here today, we've resolved the governance issue in terms of conflicts of interest between off-takers and shareholders and governance of the company. But also through that last 5-6 month period, we've solved the solvency issue. We renegotiated our short-term debt into term debt over 3 years. We resolved the liquidity issue by doing the funding raise in December. At the moment, we've still got 18 to 20 million sitting in the bank. And from that perspective, we're well positioned to actually move the assets up the curve in terms of production. We did have severe wet seasons at both operations in first quarter. That's in North Queensland and at Salamanca. But we're coming out of that and ramping up production at both assets and expecting a solid June quarter. At current prices, we expect to generate significant cash on the back of that. And I think that there's a number of parties who've got models on that open to share. The key thing for us as an investment case is the fact that we're in two solid jurisdictions, Australia and Spain. We're central to Western supply chains in terms of feed. We've got significant overtures of customers who are desperately short, above and beyond what we've already got contracted. And we've got assets that are expandable in terms of the assets under our fingertips at the moment, just needing investment. Which I think I've just about covered everything on that slide as well. So at this point, any I'm assuming questions? Any questions of me? Yes, mate. Yeah, a couple of things. So the So the question was about. Oh, so I can take the question or not? All right, excellent. Appreciate it. So the question was about what's happening with our production. So we were at 1,680. We're currently moving to around 3,000 to 3,000 tonnes, 3,000 to 3,200 tonnes per annum production at the moment. That's on the back of two things. Over in Spain, it's a matter of getting the recoveries up. So fixing the plant, putting in different equipment to get the recoveries from historically. Under previous ownership, they ran at around 38 to 42% recovery. We're now running at around 58 to 68% recovery in the Spanish assets. So that then gets us more tonnes out the back end. We're also modifying the front end of that plant from a crushing circuit. So we've installed 3 sorters there. Those 3 sorters remove the mass split from the back end of the plant. That gives us more capacity at the front end to drive more tonnes through that circuit, right? Given how well the sorters work. Equally over in Australia, we've been processing low-grade stockpiles. So those low-grade stockpiles run at 0.07, 0.08. We had a cutback through a geotechnical fault that we needed to undertake. So we needed to move 1.6 million tonnes of dirt in Australia. We've done that. We're now on the Alliant vein system. The Alliant vein system is grade control drilled out. There's 1.6 million tonnes of 0.264% tungsten in that. We started feeding that into the processing plant about 7 days ago. Yesterday was $1 million day from a production sense in terms of what came out of that plant yesterday at current prices and payables. We expect to get more $1 million days as we get more of that material coming into the plant going forward. And then obviously the plan, in addition to that, under previous management, we had already acquired the equipment we needed to double the capacity of the crushing circuit at the front end of our gravity circuit in carbide. So half the gravity circuit in carbide is currently switched off because of the fact that the sorters work so well, we reduced the mass split that goes to the back end of the plant. The equipment's already been purchased. We need to install it and we need to undertake additional modifications. That's going to be about a 30 million Aussie spend. We're in advanced negotiations with off-takers for that material that would underpin most of the funding for that expansion, for its installation. We restarted engineering work on that back in mid-December after we did the capital raise. We expect to be putting that to the board over the next 4 weeks for approval and then pull the trigger on that. Expect that to be in operation progressively between November and February, November 2025 through to February 2026 for different components within that. So I expect to get a step up in production from November out of that, and that would then take us from the 3,200 tonnes to around 3,500 to 4,000, depending on what we're feeding it. Low-grade stockpile or bringing on units from places like Wolfram Camp. The other opportunity there is around carbine itself. There's inferred that's at surface. It's got results in it. We'll be drilling some of that out over the next couple of months to see if we can get additional faces operating. So I can have additional faces, then I can have more consistent feed to the plant from a mineral perspective and reduce the amount of low grade we put in the plant at the same time. Can I take any more questions or I'm done?
We'll do it after.
All right, no problem. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, if we do it afterwards, we'll know how much time we got and we can plough through it. Craig, I ate your lunch, but there's another one coming. Sort of bloke I am. Always good to eat a Queenslander's lunch. But I'm a Maroon supporter, so which is across to bear. Okay, well, Bryan, if you'd like to come up, and we're in good time, and we will take any questions. Just again, remind you, put those cards, I see them laying around still, put those cards in your pocket because that's going to tell you where all the future events are, and put your hands together for Bryan Quinn. Good luck.
Thanks, sir. Yeah, thanks for having us to present today, and I'd also like to thank Susie, one of our board members, and Martin, our CFO's here for the hard questions after the presentation, and a couple of the shareholders have come along with us today as well. So look, today's presentation, first of all, just our forward statements. I'm sure you've read them. But today's presentation, I'm going to talk a bit about the Cobar region and what's special about it, and also what's special about Aurelia. So a bit of history, but also hopefully you walk out of here and think that's a good company to buy. So just a bit of history, and I'll start before the timeline. So the Cobar region in particular, one of the mines I'm going to talk about in the region we're in, Great Cobar, was founded and pick and shovel in 1870s. So the region's very, very old, very much in line with Broken Hill. And so, when I talk about Cobar and the Western Central New South Wales, it's pretty special from a mining point of view to Australia. And I feel very honoured actually to work out there and actually be part of the history, or a small section of the history anyway, that we're creating for the future as well, in a very, very sort of rich resource area with fantastic infrastructure and an amazing community as well. So just a bit of history about Aurelia though, in that small time zone where we've been so that far against the long time zone of history for the Cobar region. So Aurelia basically in 2009 bought the Hera project off CBH Resources. We then obviously went through approval process, first production 2014. The Peak mine was acquired by Aurelia. Now, Peak was actually built by Rio Tinto in 1990, and as a side story, I was actually a trainee in 1990 out at Cobar, so there's a bit of history there for me as well. And so the Peak mine was bought. The Peak mine was bought by Aurelia in 2018, and obviously after that, with good cash flows and more exploration, Federation was first discovered. Federation, which is obviously, I'll talk more about it, but it's one of the highest grade base metals deposits in Australia. It was discovered, and over a very short period of time, the mine had its feasibility study done, got approvals. At the same time, actually, Great Cobar, which I'll also talk about today, was also approved as through the government process. And then in 2023, Hera Mine was closed, ran out of good quality ore, and Federation was commenced. During that period, Peak Mine has been producing base metals and precious metals to fund the growth and development of the Federation Mine while Hera shut down. And so today, as we stand, and I'll talk through the portfolio we have in the region, we have sort of a really good set of quality assets in our region, which we'll talk about. So, as I said, this is a very small amount of time in the history of the Cobar region, and when I talk about some of the assets we have, you'll sort of see how it fits into that picture. In terms of, on the left-hand side of the screen, we currently are running 3 mining operations. The New Cobar, which is on sort of the northern part of the sort of fault zone of where we mine, and we have the South Mine, which is the original Peak Mine. They are both producing base metals in particular, lead, zinc, gold, and copper. And we've also recently, in 2023, in September, we got first production established out of the Federation Mine. That mine was actually built and sort of up and running and ramped up within budget, which is something you very rarely hear in our stories of building projects in the mining industry, with all the headwind pressures on costs and inflation and just getting resources. And we have a plant which is a peak processing plant, which nameplate capacity is about 800,000 tonnes. It's a bespoke plant. It can actually take any of the materials, commodities, resources in that region and process them. And so we actually basically obviously have lead, zinc, silver, gold, and copper being produced through our plant Peak at this present time. On the right-hand side is our growth opportunities organically in our region, in our control. So in respect to what they look like, we have the Great Cobar project, which is actually a project we kicked off in July last year. So it's basically 2 declines heading down to a deposit under the original Great Cobar mine. It started, like I said, in July 2024. It'll be up and producing in FY28 effectively. We have, and that's going to be copper gold. And so obviously, if you look at some of the stats we've put out on that copper gold, it's very high grade copper with a good amount of gold as well. So very exciting for the business to be heading towards that in the future. We also have a Nymagee resource. We've put information out to the market. It grew actually 70% in the last emerald that we published in October last year. It's a very much a copper ore. It's got lead zinc as well. It's about 5 kilometres from the plant. You can see up on the board called Hera. Hera is a plant which we have got on care and maintenance at the moment. It's sitting there basically until we can establish what resource we want to put through it, and then we can actually restart it in the future at the right time if the resource makes sense from an economic point of view. And we obviously have a lot of other work around exploration. We have an amazing exploration set of tenements. You can sort of see in the presentation from the top that all the grey blotching from top to bottom is the exploration around the fault lines we have. It's actually very vast. If you look at that's about 150 kilometres between Cobar or Peak Mine down to the Federation Mine. So that's the sort of magnitude of the fault line and the actual leases we have hold of right now. And so our limitation really is just drilling. What we do find with our drilling programs, we have a very good conversion of resource to reserves. We don't actually waste many drill holes and hit nothing. So effectively, it's just really for us about putting the cash flow into the ground, and we uncover a lot of value in that region. So in many respects, it's about what do we prioritise to go after and where do we put the drill rigs to make that happen. So our priority at the moment has been our Federation deposit. It's open at depth and on strike to understand more around the deposit, what the potential could be for this very high grade lead zinc deposit, gold, and also Nymagee to see what potential for Nymagee is there as well. And like I said, Nymagee is 5 kilometres away from the Hera plant as an example. So it's a stone thrown away. It's a bitumen road, the plant's sitting there, the facilities are there. If we can get that economic, we have a very good opportunity with the Nymagee deposit effectively. So overall, as a company, we've actually been able to build ourselves over the last 2 years to have our mill full. I was recently in another forum and I was listening to all my peers talk about wanting to fill the mill. We're actually full now. So we've worked hard to get our operations, both Federation, the new Cobar side and the South Mine, all working to actually blend ore and fill our mill to 800,000 tonne capacity, which is obviously the nameplate of that plant. But with the cash flow we've been generating and the business performance, which has been obviously getting better and better over the years, we're now expanding our plant. So the processing plant at peak is going from 800,000 tonnes to 1.1 to 1.2 million tonnes. It's underway right now. The first part of that is due to be commissioned in this quarter 4 FY26, and the second part of the expansion will be commissioned in Q1 FY27. So we're literally a very short amount of time away from moving 800,000 tonnes up to a capacity of 1.1 to 1.2 million tonnes. And that's all being self-funded, as all of our work is, being self-funded from the cash flows the business is generating out of the mines and out of the actual plant. So in the last 12 months, we've been able to move the business, build our stepping stones, get our mill full, generate lots of value out of the organisation, and be able to grow with self-funding to get there. We're obviously just starting Q4, and this is our half-year results because we don't have a Q3 set of results to show anyone at this point in time. So the company snapshot, which we're very proud of, we've obviously been generating, this is the market cap and the enterprise value was at the time we did it on the 30th of March. Things change every day right now, as everyone knows. But effectively, our financial performance at for EBITDA and for EBITDA margin, underlying at NOPAT, all very positive relative to the 31st of December 2025. And if you look at the actual the net cash we have and the total liquidity and the restricted cash, we actually made an announcement yesterday which has unlocked the restricted cash going forward. It's a statement of intent with several banks, and so our net cash will obviously be moving in a very good direction over the coming period of time as well, with that sort of new facility we're putting in place. So from a net cash point of view, that cash is there, and we have been building our Federation mine. We're putting expansion in place for our mill. We're exploring very intensively in the region with 4 rigs and building our business. And effectively, we've still got a very strong balance sheet to support us through the process as we're going to expand the company effectively. So I guess I like to show that slide off because it's a very good result and it continues to improve. But let me just tell you about the stepping stones we're taking, because this is an important story, because effectively we're trying to build a company organically, step by step, and create value for our shareholders. And why that's important is if you look back for the Cobar where we were, in financial year 2024 was sitting around 20,000 copper equivalent tonnes, and our pathway to 40,000 copper equivalent tonnes is well and truly within our control. So as we build the company using the foundations of the region we have, using the excellent exploration results, using the growth we're putting in place around our mill, building the new mines, which Federation's now was commercial as of July 1, 2025, with Great Cobar, the next mine being built in the pathway along the way as well. You can sort of see that we are actually moving from 2024 to 2025. We've increased by the copper equivalent tonnes up 40%. In 2025 to 2026, we'll obviously continue to increase, and that's really based on our Federation ramp-up, which is our new mine. It's been delivering amazing results in terms of the quality of the ore coming out and how it's working its way through the processing plant. You never see so many smiles until you walk into our processing plant when the Federation ore is coming through. It's the plant and the material go very well together. And then obviously from 26 to 27, we'll continue to ramp up our plant. We'll continue to ramp up our plant with the expansion, but also with the Federation mine ramping up in parallel. And then in FY27 to FY28, the Great Cobar production will come on and the plant will be at full capacity again, 1.1 to 1.2 million tonnes. There's other projects we have working in the background as well, which we've spoken to the market about in terms of to go above that sort of criteria of 1.1 to 1.2 million tonnes at very little capital. But we're doing studies on those things right now, and they'll be released once the studies are have moved in the right direction. But that is the profile of, I guess, what we're calling building blocks of the organisation to get 40,000 copper equivalent tonnes in the coming years. And I guess with our financial cash flows, with our delivery performance, meaning guidance quarter on quarter on quarter for as many quarters as I can remember now, delivering good profits, good cash flows at every half year and full year results, we've been able to build this in a very sequential way, in a very structured way to deliver further shareholder value. So we kind of see ourselves that we've positioned ourselves to deliver growth and deliver value to the shareholders. And how we've done that has obviously been focused very much on making sure the balance sheet is strong, and the announcement yesterday on what we've done with our refinance will further strengthen the balance sheet and give us much more, if you want to call it de-risking the business for future risks. We don't know what's going to happen in the Middle East. We don't know what's going to happen in commodity prices as a result of the Middle East, but we feel with the work we've done and the cash balance we have now, and also with the facility we're putting in place, it really even further de-risks us from any sort of issues that may hit from left field. Our Federation mine has been building up to plan, actually ahead of plan, and the quality of the ore, reconciling very nicely with the grades we put out in our releases last year. We're getting very much good reconciliation on our lead, our zinc, some upside on our gold, which is nice as well. And effectively, that set of ore is going through our plant very, very well. They're made for each other. Our peak processing plant, as I said, it's full. So the mill is full, and now with expansions underway, we'll get not just more material through, we'll get better recoveries. We're going to get better recoveries of our reagents as well through our thickener process we're putting in place. And one of the key things I will point out, we're doing an expansion and we're reusing or repurposing our equipment out of Dargues mine we shut down a couple of years ago. We're taking the ball mills, we're taking the cables, we're taking the electrical units and actually reusing them, trucking them up to peak. So we've used what we can to, rather than go buy new and wait forever for things to arrive, it's all been in our control effectively. So really the peak processing plant will be expanded using largely a lot of the things we had in the Dargues mine that we didn't want to sell to someone else. The Great Cobar project is very exciting, and I'll just tell you a couple of things about Great Cobar project. Firstly, it's not very far away. We're using the existing infrastructure of the new Cobar open pit to get into the mine, so we don't have to build a new box cut or anything else. We're basically moving down into the decline of New Cobar and turning right and building off two declines heading down to the ore deposit. And we'll be sinking a shaft towards starting to do a raise bore at the end of this calendar year for the ventilation for a fresh air raise. What's exciting about it is actually the ore itself. So we've got, obviously a resource, MRAW around the resource for Great Cobar. What we actually have is we have drill holes above, drill holes below, and drill holes to the side. They're not part of our MRAW, they're all upside. And for geologists in the room, I really encourage you to have a look at those drill holes because they are amazing. And so what it shows a non-geologist, mining engineer, is basically that once we can actually get some more drilling information from those regions below, to the side and above, we can actually really incorporate that into an upside to our business going forward for Great Cobar. And that's, time will only allow us to get there. We're pushing ourselves down the decline. We're going to prioritise putting drilling platforms in so we can actually establish the drilling information as quickly as possible so we can actually really understand what is the capability of resource out of that Great Cobar mine. So I can only see significant upside coming out of that region effectively, out of that particular mine. But as I said, it's built into our step-by-step business plan and our growth to get to 40,000 copper equivalent tonnes. And once the resource is fully unpacked, as in the potential, then obviously that can be recut in terms of what is the upside. I'll also say one other thing. If you look at the deals in the region around us, in Cobar region recently, I have some peers in the room here I thank very much for this. If you look at the value that's been put onto those deals, and I paste and filter that across my Great Cobar deposit, it's amazing. The value is amazing. So I encourage you to look at that as well. Because if you look at the recent purchase of one of the mines next door, how we're sort of putting value on resources in the region without infrastructure, I have the resource and I have the infrastructure. So, and it's not far away from being in execution. And in terms of future production growth, we are looking at other options beyond that. once again, self-funded. We have a tailings facility that was kindly put in place by New Occidental Mine many years ago. We've been doing work on that as well to understand with the current gold prices, the current capacity of our mill, and we can put more in the mill beyond the 1.1, 1.2 using certain approaches that effectively we can grow beyond that for a very small amount of capital as well. So very much a good news story for Aurelia, and I can only see in the future it's sort of smashing the lights out with cash flow coming out of the business. But really importantly, I want to go back to the Cobar itself, because this is a good news story. You know, we aren't global, we are in the one region, and what I love about where we work is the community, the people, our neighbours, the farmers. Effectively, it's an amazing place. And I've worked all around the world, in many places I probably don't want to go back to. But when I go to Cobar, it feels like a perfect mining environment. I mean, we do a lot of support for the community. Over the last 3 years, we've invested, you know, around $650,000 into just projects with the community. We're part of a voluntary sort of program to put money into the community for roads, infrastructure, around another $650,000 for the last 3 years. And our local procurement, we've spent just over $300 million the last 3 years as well. So just over a third of our spend goes into the local region, and we really try and force a point. Can we get that local? Can we get that from somewhere close by in our decision making to better support the local region, which is really, really important. So that's some real key facts, I think. And so with that, we also very much involved with the school for apprenticeships. I think we took on 5 or 6 apprentices last year from the local school. We're trying to get I think we put on 5 graduates last year, largely from New South Wales, some from Queensland. And we're really trying to make sure we're bringing in the next generation of mining people into that. This is our regional general manager out playing football with his steel caps on. So he's out there often. He's in the mixed netball team on Tuesday nights in the competition locally. He's got really bad knees, so I'm not sure he does it. But, you know, he's out there doing things in the community because we want to be part of the community. And one of the real fundamental things we did, which I'm really proud of, in October 24, we put a local community hub in. And so that hub was actually put in place so that we can have residents come and talk to us, give us feedback, apply for jobs, give us just feedback on, and for us to have transparency about what we're trying to do in the community as well, which is very, very important. And because one of the really positives about the area is when we put in applications, we want to be seen as a good neighbour. We want to have a good license to operate. We want people to see that, you know, Aurelia is a good company to have working in the region with us and them. And that's what we're trying to aspire to, because it makes a difference to everything if everyone's on the same page in that region. So I wanted to brag about Cobar, and I wanted to sort of talk about history of it. Like I said, I was there in 1990. I know I don't look that old, but I was, and it's so nice to go back there and see that the community spirit's still there and the mining spirit's still there, and it's all working very well together. So I really want to summarise it, and this is an iconic picture. For those who haven't been through Cobar, and I really suggest you do, in winter, because the temperature's probably better, this is the icon you'll see as you drive into the community. This has caravans and buses and camper vans and tents all pitched in front of it, and everyone wants a photo of this. And it's quite amazing that they're not real people, by the way, they're just statues on top. We're not really working there now. But this is actually where the old great Cobar mine was, underneath here. And so this is iconic, it's sort of heritage, and the amount of visitors we get coming through this area, just getting photos and walking to the museum behind there, it does make a difference to the feel of Aurelia in that region. So my summary is, you know, we actually have great geology, and we're actually supported by really amazing infrastructure. Rio Tinto, when they built Peak Mine, they put in really long-term infrastructure, the processing mill, the winder, the buildings. I mean, we tweak them, we maintain them. We don't have to do a lot apart from upgrade them for more throughput. We're in a great community, which I think makes a big difference to how you operate and drawing people out. Sorry, I would say we have 68% residential people working at our site as well, and the rest is Dido and FIFO. We would take more, but they don't exist. So, and we're in the process of looking at housing, accommodation, because we are growing our business and we want to bring people in. A lot of younger generations, sort of small couples want to live there, and obviously it's too expensive in the cities these days. Sydney is a good example. So we do have a real focus on residential, but we do FIFO and we do Dido regionally from New South Wales, from Dubbo, from Orange, from Mudgee, and regions like that. And we obviously bring people in on FIFO as well for skills we can't get in the local region. So that's a good testament to we are trying to actually employ local. We are trying to do the right thing in the region, and it's very important. Obviously, we continue to do that. And I think both of those two things together, with the growth, with the resource we have, with the infrastructure, with the growth we're bringing to the organisation towards 40,000 copper equivalent tonnes, we're going to give better outcomes to our stakeholders even than we are today. And we are generating good value for our shareholders today, and with the work we're doing, it's going to get even better. So I want to finish there with a video. Very important. I hope this works. This is a video we shot recently just of the organisation. This is the plant. The conveyor's not as full as I'd like it to be. This is a Federation mine that was built and opened by the Minister in September 2024. There's the decline up there to the top of the screen right now. Exploration rigs out in the wonderful farming areas. We have a feeding system on top of the ROM for loading our mill. 3 of our professionals having a good chat. Underground Federation, where the money is, in the back of the truck. Where the money's made on computers through geology and mining engineers. And that truck isn't full. It must be going for maintenance. It's going down. Thank you. And this is in the community, one of our staff working with the community. Loading our road trains. We've had an amazing journey with New South Wales Government getting our approvals in place, really working with them well to get approvals for all the expansions we're making. And our core shed, where we find the ore. So that's kind of the summary for, I'm not going to show it again. That's the summary I want to present to you. So please, happy to take questions whenever I'm allowed to.
Craig, do you want to get up here and we'll field some questions?
I can answer
come
for
on.
you.
Play nice, come on. Know the Cobar field well. When I was a student, I helped build the pipeline out there, and with a spark from an angle grinder, we managed to burn just about the entire map and well beyond it. The fire went forever.
That's before risk management, obviously.
Yeah, no, it was risk management. It was all pretty basic back then. Actually, didn't even have hard at. Yeah, looks like we got a keen question down there. We've got a roving mic. We're away. Yeah, good. Okay.
Thank you. I've got a question for Craig and a bit of an ad for you, Julian, and Leading Edge. 3 years ago, I met up with EQ Resources. We've done I'm Lawrence Gregg from Pack Partners. We did 4 capital raisings for EQ, and it's a great forum to meet people and see good stories and get out there and get stuff done.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thanks for this, and it's a great venue.
Question to that? Or?
No, I've got a question for Craig now. Having walked around at Mount Carbine.
Well, you must have a lot of happy people then that have ridden up.
Oh yes, we have
you've
very
been there with EQ?
very pleased
6 months.
clients.
Pretty sure a hero overnight, aren't you? It took him 3 years.
And it took 34 years.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. I've had the privilege of going up to Mount Carbine. There's a lot of opportunities there, and specifically, I was thinking about the underground potential. There is a decline that needs to be extended, but just thinking about that, but also, with higher prices and whatnot, strip ratios and the resource that you mentioned are also in a state of flux. Can you give us a little bit more about the underground versus open pit potential? Thank you.
You got the question mark there.
Yep, no, I understand. So look, the answer to that is the original plan at Carbine was to bring the underground on from around 2028. When I took on the role, my view, having a look at our ore sources and where they came from, I think that was too aggressive, right? Be quite simply. And so we've slowed that up. And so it's a case of my expectation is that we will bring the underground on probably from around 2030, 2031, and we'll do further work to bring it on in a more considered fashion, right? So my view was that the plan had too much risk in it on the basis of doing too many things in parallel, which then opens up greater risk. And so within that, by delaying the underground, we can do that in a more considered fashion, bring that in later, but bring it in with more tons at a later point in time. Because when you have a look at what it meant for the schedule, it's not a lot of tons coming out of the underground in 28 and 29. The tons start to pick up from 30, 31. And so by delaying it, we don't have to find a lot of other tons from other sources that are actually more accessible from an open cut perspective. We can delay capital, but also we can then do that process right. The pre-feasibility study that was done, when you look at that pre-feasibility study, the mine design is not compliant with current Queensland legislation in terms of development, right? So, I think there's further work that needs to be done to ensure that it's done safely, it's done in the right fashion, and there's also additional drilling that needs to be done. When you look at where the ore was, there's gaps in the resource model that needs to be drilled out, and then a further look at it. So, in the market at the moment for a studies person to actually run that whole underground piece and then take that through from what was a pre-feasibility study through a bankable feasibility study with a view to bringing on that online from probably 2030 or 2031. Right? And I guess my view is there's a whole lot of other at surface available material that actually just needs some drilling to actually prove it up and bring it on. And that material, you can bring it on, you can crush it, sort it, jig it, and then bring it through to carbine from up to 100 kilometres away, and it's extremely economic. We don't need to bring the underground on with risk and capital earlier than 2030, 2031. And it may actually be we actually may be able to further delay that if we need to.
Good. There was another one over here.
Thank you for taking my question. And my question is to you, Bryan. You basically produce gold and also base metal. Can you give us a breakdown, which part of production is the most profitable? And also you had a guidance for next year. And I look at you're not going to increase the gold production, but you're going to increase the copper and the zinc. And then can you give us, and also you're not going to produce silver. Can you give us a reason for that? Thank you.
I can definitely summarize that. So the majority of our production right now is gold. So call it 55 to 60% at this point in time. We're going through our life of mine process right now, and obviously with the current prices, and one of the benefits we actually do have, because we have a range of commodities, in our peak mine, we do have zinc, lead and gold and some copper. And in our New Cobar mine, we call it Chesney, Jubilee and New Cobar, we have copper gold. And at Federation, we have zinc, lead and gold. And so if you look at the current breakdown for this year, it's around 60% is gold. So I guess you can do the math. Where we make the most money is in gold right now, because obviously the gold price is very helpful in that space. Going forward, we are doing our life of mine plan right now, and what we've sort of talked about is that we still have strong gold going forward for a period of time. When Great Cobar comes in 2 years' time, you'll be basically running what we've published to the market has been Great Cobar will be running with Federation. So you'll have those two mines pushing into the mill. Now, having said that, we're doing our life of mine process right now, and we may keep the South Mine of Peak open longer as well and go for more gold lenses or other deposits in the Peak South Mine. So I can't really answer the question until that process has been done and we get to our guidance numbers towards the end of the financial year. But I guess the real question you're asking, where are we making our money? It's in gold at the moment. And very well supported by base metals, especially for the credits and the cost structure that goes with it, obviously. And what we sort of talk about at the end of the quarters is we look at we don't go and change the mine plan. The mine plan is the mine plan, and I've worked in places when I was a mine planner a few years ago. If you change a mine plan to chase a commodity, you can stuff the mine, and that stuffs it forever. And I don't need to tell people in this room that. What we do take the opportunity with the infill drilling programs we do, and this is where these deposits are amazing. You can be infill drilling just to close out sections of the mine and hit gold or hit something else you didn't know was actually there. And we will mine that. If it's good gold, we'll go after it. But it won't change the mine plan. The mine plan will stay as it was and will continue on. But opportunities will arise and we'll take them as they come up. And that's the richness of these deposits, because effectively they are very high grade. They are, until you do the infill drilling to the right level, which we do a lot, probably better than we did in years in the past, we can actually unpack value we didn't know was there. Does that answer the question okay?
Great answer. Got another one here.
Yeah, thanks, gentlemen, for your presentation. They say that the cure for high prices are high prices, and most of the people in the room understand the gold and copper economics. Craig, can you give us your view on why the tungsten price might be a little bit different and might be here longer than one might expect?
Yep. Thank you for that question.
Excellent question. I think that's topical at the moment around the world in terms of what's happening with the tungsten price. Look, the tungsten is similar to ours. It's not unique in the world. There's a number of tungsten discoveries that have been found around the world. They were operable in World War I. They were operable in World War II. Every time there's been global geopolitical tensions, tungsten price has gone up. I guess the difference between previous now is the amount of use in tungsten in so many different industrial applications. The industrial applications have continued to grow. And so from that perspective, the Chinese were ahead of the market. In the 70s, they flooded the world with tungsten concentrate. That wiped out all the mines in the rest of the world apart from two. The Panasqueira mine in Portugal and the Middelsul mine in Austria, owned by WBH, which is owned by Sandvik. And so at that point, everyone else in the world went out of business from a mining perspective. The Chinese then pushed downstream into ammonium paratungstate, blue tungsten oxide, yellow tungsten, what we call the intermediaries, right? And they then took that concentrate away from the Western processes, fed that APT, BTO, YTO into those Western processes that were fully integrated, and then more recently have taken that away. And when you look across different minerals, it's the same Chinese strategy, right? It's a case of the place that they're looking to compete is end-use product, right? Xi Jinping got up and said in 2020 to the Politburo, made in China 2025. 2025 might not be right, but they're moving downstream. The competitive landscape is end-use tools. And so the challenge for the rest of the world at the moment is that the Chinese are not coming back into the market to supply your raw materials. They're looking to compete on your drill bit, your cutting blade, your shoulder powders for fracking, your catalysts for oil and gas refining, your WF6. That's where they're looking to compete. And so in that space, the challenge for the rest of the world is we need more tungsten units. Problem with that is most of the tungsten projects that have been looked at today are old mines that were operated in World War I, World War II, or shut down in the 70s. They can all be restarted, but the process to bring one of those on, even an old shutdown mine, 5 years, from discovery. I spent 14 years in Vietnam building Nui Phao. Nui Phao in Vietnam was discovered in 1990. I went there in 2011 to put a team together to build it. It was 21 years between when it was discovered and we started construction. It took us then 4 years to get it constructed and into commercial production. And we had a lot to learn because it was the first new tungsten mine built in the Western world in 15 years at that point in time. We also then built the first new refinery in the rest of the world, which was a hybrid between Chinese technology and Western technology. Long way to say, the solution for the rest of the world is going to be new mines. The challenge with new mines, we think 5 years. And so higher prices, in my view, are here for the next minimum 3 years, most likely 5 years. And prices will then tail off as new projects come to the market over that period of time. But most people don't have experience in tungsten because it just hasn't existed in the rest of the world for so long. And having come from copper gold, so I come from Oxiana, copper gold, I thought going into tungsten would actually be a piece of piss. It wasn't, and I actually learnt how much I had to get a lot of humility in terms of how much I didn't know and how much I had to learn about gravity recovery and fine tungsten recovery. And we developed a whole lot of new things at Newifal that a number of those people are now working in different operations, and it'll work, but it'll take time, and I think 5 years. So I think we've got high prices for 5 years. Whether that's 3,000, whether that's 6,000, or that's 1,000, I don't know. But our production cost is in the order of $300 to $350 an MTU, right? Prices of 3,000 are fantastic for us.
Unless we've got another, yeah, exactly, yeah. And interesting to hear your background too in tungsten.
I'm a failed accountant, right?
Failed accountant. Yeah.
Work that out.
Wow. But I mean, all that background in tungsten, if we don't have any further questions, we do have a gift for you fellas, which is our traditional gift. Charlie, you're seeing Angus on Sunday. You've experienced the pride that these guys take in their operations. That is throughout our industry. And we get, sure you've watched, we get miner bashing for decades on end. And if Angus is keen to get on the front foot and be a supporter of our industry, I think he'd be winning a lot of hearts. And I'm sure you'd both welcome a visit from Angus if he was to come out and drop in on your operation. They're not too far away from airports, either of them.
You can as well if you want.
Oh, yeah, and tell him to bring you. Yeah. Well, that's true. To bring whoever, but it's if this is a point in inflection in the political landscape where perhaps our future government can stand up and be proud of what we do, because it's we get so much, we get red tape, we get dragged down, we get complained about, and we don't get the credit that we're due. But you only got to look at the pride that these guys take and what they've done, or how long it takes them in their careers to actually get to that pinnacle, form a part of the community, do all this stuff, and understand the intricacies of the business. So, yeah, I think you can. Take that message to Angus when you see him on Sunday. So now gift time. Here we go. Now this is another element of pride. I don't know, I'm talking to you so much, Charlie, but this is probably because you haven't been here before. But this is our gift, which we have specially made, and it is the beautiful Eureka flag. It is made in all the long-lasting materials, and it's our own version of because there isn't actually a formal design for the flag, so you've got to go back to the bit of cloth that they stuck it on in the first place, which is down in Victoria somewhere. So these are really good flags. You can, if you put in it. What happened, unfortunately, is that the CFMEU, I nearly said the rednecks, the CFMEU hijacked this flag for a while, but it doesn't exist anymore. It is really the people's flag historically, and it's also a flag of the people when the people stood up against government and told them when they were overstepping. And so we always give this flag as the miners' flag, and it's a genuine article, lasts you forever. And if you put a nice little sign underneath it saying, not the CFMEU, but the miners' flag, you can hang it proudly at your operations. And I do that on Anzac Day. I put it outside and put the miners' flag underneath and the Australian flag. But just otherwise, other people go, oh, that's the redneck flag. So, because it gets conflated with the rebel flag in the United States wrongly, because that has a racist element to it in the US and its own politics. But this is our flag. This is the people's flag. So on behalf of all the people in this room, boys, may I present you with the Eureka flag, and with many thanks. Righto, it's on the Wednesday, the 6th of May, and you've got your little cards. I've told you lots of times. Please support the opening, and thank you for that credit. It's a wonderful thing. It's your club. We just work here, so make it happen. See you there. Thank you.